WRVA, the voice of Virginia.
The sun is up over central Virginia skies. Hanover moving and the city's alive. One more hour to own this town. WRVA never slowing down. Wake up rich and win the day. Or spend the whole day playing catch up anyway. Richmond's morning news keeps you running strong. 9 a.m. Let's roll all morning long.
All right, it's 9:04 this morning on Richmond's Morning News. This is News Radio WRVA. My name is Rich Herrera. I saw this story, and it's kind of broke. So the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, have unveiled their new national platform called Workers Deserve More. Amongst their ideas, replace the presidency with an executive selected by Congress and subordinate to Congress, something more like a prime minister. Replace the current Supreme Court structure with judiciary chosen and accountable to Congress, abolish the Electoral College, eliminate the United States Senate, and we will end the War Department. We'll give amnesty to all immigrants and drastically change this country. Here's the deal. It used to be about tax rates and healthcare spending, but now the DSA is actually emboldened enough with Zohran Mamdani and Bernie Sanders and AOC and their recent victories they've had in City Hall and congressional primaries that they're really feeling themselves. But the scary part is that a bunch of kids, for whatever reason, that have grown up here in the United States of America are now embracing communism. Why is that? To me, it's just mind-blowing for a lot of different reasons. So I need sage advice. So we're going to run out to our WRVA Newsmaker hotline. Joining me right now, a very dear friend, a man I love as much as anybody else in this world. He means so much to me. His name is Dr. Richard Bilas. He found a 17-year-old kid who had no idea about anything in the world, and he has been my mentor for years. And I'm so proud that we've stayed in touch all these years. He's professor of economics. He's really responsible for a lot of the knowledge that I have and the vision that I have and my point of view comes from his teachings, and he's joining me here on News Radio WRVA. Good morning, Dr. Bilas.
Well, that was quite an introduction. I think a lot of it you've done yourself.
Well,
don't give me credit for your hard work.
Or the blame by some of our listeners for what I talk about each day. But I asked you to come on the program because I'm a classical economist because of you. And I understand how economics work, and there's different versions, and there's supply siders, and there's Keynesians, and all the rest of that. And then there's communists. And for the longest time, it just went without saying, communism is not great. Communism is bad. People die under communism, and the economic system just doesn't work. That's why it's never, ever, ever, ever had any success anywhere it's been tried. Yet, Dr. Bilas, I see all these kids embracing communism, and I have to ask you why.
Well, let's go back a little bit to about the late 1800s, okay?
Okay.
And I may misquote this, so I'm just going to give it my best shot. From each according to his abilities, to each according to his needs.
Okay.
And that was Karl Marx. And the intention of that statement was that if you have a society which completely works together, they'll be able to produce enough so that everybody will be able to have everything they want. The interpretation today is from each according to his means to each according to his needs. So you take away from the rich or the wealthy or those who have, and you wind up giving to those who have not. And we're seeing that, for example, in New York City. We've seen it in the former Soviet Union. It just simply does not work. But young people today who have been given everything that they have ever wanted and now face the opportunity or the stage in their life where they have to go out and do it on their own. I can't do that. Somebody has to give it to me. And that's been taught to them in the schools, particularly in colleges and universities. And that's what we're stuck with. The question really is now, how long is this episode in political shenanigans going to going to last? I don't have an answer to that, but we'll find out a little bit in November.
So, Dr. Bilas, what's intriguing to me, and you've known me my entire adult life. You met me when I was 17 years old. I didn't come from wealth. I had to earn everything I had, and I probably still have some dirt in my hands from working in the fields. So you can't start lower on the level of economic insecurity in this country than my family did. I didn't turn to communism. I worked my tail off to get everything I have. Yet I look at these kids that are leading the DSA. I call them kids, but they're millennials. They're in their 30s and 40s. I give you an example. The fellow that was the political operative to defend Graham Plattner that is leading a lot of this DSA nonsense. He's out recruiting socialists to run under the Democratic Party. His father founded Toys R Us. This is not a guy that grew up next to me working in the grape fields as a kid before I got a chance to go to college. He's not one that was waiting tables and washing dishes to put himself through school. You look at Zorhan Mamdani, professor. You're a professor. You realize, you know what a tenured professor at NYU can make and what a successful filmmaker can make. Zorhan Mamdani grew up with privilege. You have all these DSA folks. They grew up with privilege, as they would call it. They grew up with opportunities. They grew up with money, yet they're the ones that want to be socialists. It makes no sense to me.
Well, but they will be, they believe, the leaders in this new society which they wish to bring about. Everybody that's putting this forward wants and believes that he or she will be the ultimate leader. And that's where there's an interesting problem, because if they all want to be the ultimate leader in this new design political system, somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. And most of them are going to be losers because there is only going to be a single winner. That's what happened in the Soviet Union. You had a tremendous fight to see who was going to be in charge, and the winner killed the losers. And that's one of the potential problems. But they all think that they're going to be getting together and be very happy together and be winners. It's not going to happen. That's not the way individual human beings work. We strive for something some way or another, and there are winners and there are losers, and that's going to continue to be the case.
We can go through the history of communism, whether it was Lenin and Trotsky and Stalin. Somebody was going to get purged. You can go to Cuba with the Castro brothers and Che Guevara. He eventually was purged. You can go through all of these countries and all of these people that have tried socialism, and eventually the authoritarians, someone will, like you said, turn out to be the winner. Someone will turn out to be the loser.
That's exactly what's going to happen. I remember back at Cal State Bakersfield many years ago, one of my colleagues, a liberal economist, was having lunch with a group of faculty members from the sociology department. And they were putting forward the need for more government to do this, that, and the other thing. And this liberal colleague of mine said, don't you guys understand that if you get what you want, you're going to be the first people put up against the wall and shot? I mean, that's something that one has to recognize. And these so-called leaders today don't recognize that. I mean, just as an example, Mamdani, AOC, and Bernie Sanders, if those are the three people at the top, they're not going to form a triumvirate. One of them is going to be the winner. The other two are going to be losers.
You know, I noticed something about Bernie Sanders, and this tells me how this just tells me how bogus all this is. Dr. Bilas, when he came on the scene, he used to rally against millionaires and billionaires. And I've noticed over the last few years, I went through and read some of the transcripts of his speeches. He doesn't talk about millionaires anymore because he's become a millionaire through his books and whatever else. Now he rallies against billionaires.
Of
right?
course. This is the way that they can get power and wealth. And if they have wealth to begin with, they want more wealth. That's not unusual for human beings. We are people that we want more and more and more. That's pretty common. But these people are using the system for their own personal gain, and they don't care about their neighbors. I mean, when you get a leading socialist today, this Hassan Piker,
Hassan
or
Piker,
whatever
right?
his name, yeah, says that 9/11 was something that we deserved. He didn't say anything about the thousands of people who were killed. That doesn't bother them.
1 minute.
Because they don't have any regard for life other than their own.
And by the way, I did a little bit of research. You know, that was the guy, and every kid in America is watching this clown on Twitch. He went on a field trip to Cuba to talk about how wonderful it was, and he was wearing sunglasses. Like, they were Prada sunglasses somewhere in the neighborhood of $10,000. And then I also found out, Dr. Bilas, he's the nephew of a guy from the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, I think is how you say his name. He's always debating with Ben Shapiro and such, but there's actually nepotism because he's the nephew of one of the leading socialists in America. So this is not anything that is authentic and homegrown. This is all put on for whatever reason. One last question, and Dave, I'm going to go over by just a minute if you don't mind. Dr. Bilas, I wanted to ask you this. How much is academics? You spent your entire career teaching young minds like mine. I kind of find this pattern. These kids were told, go to a really expensive liberal arts school, go to these great academic schools. That's all you have to do. Once you graduate from a place like William and Mary, or an Ivy League school or a University of Virginia, you're promised X. And these kids have gone into debt, $200,000-$300,000. They've come out, and that pot of gold they were promised is not there. Now they think the system is rigged. Now they hate capitalism because they were sold a bill of goods that was never guaranteed. And now they're upset and they're going, well, let's become communists. This promise I had of capitalism is not working out.
Well, many of them, I have to chuckle at this. Many of them, what have they majored in? Something that is totally useless. I mean, the simple fact of the matter is that universities many of them are in business today to make a lot of money. And they've been able to do this off the backs of student loans. It's just a messed up system, Richard. You have very, very few colleges and universities that are in business today to actually develop younger people's minds to get them to be productive citizens. Very few schools do that. And it's a shame. It's just a shame.
I'll share this with you. The one thing that Richard Bilas taught me was how to have critical thinking. That's the one gift that you gave me. But you might not remember this, Dr. Bilas. You know, one of the other things you reminded me of, that in economics, we're in a windowless room with no doors. And the second we open up the seal on that, none of this makes sense because it's all theoretical. And then you told me you're going to learn just enough in economics to mess you up for the rest of your life.
Well,
you taught me that on the first day of class, Economics 101.
Yeah, I don't remember that, but I kind of chuckle because students that go through universities today, if they picked up any economics, it is probably just enough to confuse them, and we see that happening. Let me just give you one final example, okay?
Yes, sir.
Suppose we had an income tax rate of 100%, which is what these socialists, communists, whatever, are striving for. High income taxes, so you tax the rich to give to the poor, theoretically. If you had 100% income tax, the total revenue that you receive from taxes would be zero because nobody would work. And so what we don't recognize is that as you raise income tax rates, revenues are likely to fall and things are going to be worse off.
Why would I work if you're going to take 100% of my money?
That's
I just
exactly
stop
right.
at whatever it is.
That's
I'd
exactly
stop
right.
it.
And that's what happened in the Reagan administration when when income tax rates went down. Lo and behold, income tax revenues went up because taxes were too high. But yet we have these socialists, communists, whatever, wanting to raise income taxes with the expectation that revenues are going to go up to fulfill all the needs and desires that they have. And it's not going to work that way, particularly in states. If a state like New York raises income tax, what's going to happen to people? They're going to leave.
And they are,
Just
and now
like
Kathy
myself,
Hochul
and
is
they're
begging
doing
for
it.
them to come back. Dr. Bilas,
That's
thank you so much. I appreciate you always joining us and giving us some sage advice, and I will talk to you soon.
Richard, my pleasure. God bless you. Take care. Thank you.
God bless you. I love you, Dr. Bilas. Such a great man. Such a great man. Appreciate him. It's 9:18. I went a little over, but I thought that was important for us to talk about. He's just truly, I mean, it's been 40 plus years, and I've stayed in touch with him, and really proud of that. Really a big inspiration to me, and probably one of the wisest men that I've ever known outside of my father. All right. Let's see. Today's program is brought to you in part by our friends